We have some exciting things to go through. There are crop circles that just popped up in the last few months, the comet, and you'll see some other videos on my channel that talk about this comet, and it's all connected. Plus, I'm going to talk about mystery orbs that have been showing up because it's not just one. All of these bring forth a profound message, and this is a message of unity. The way this all started for me is I started receiving all these messages and visions from this comet that came through beginning in April. Also remembering that these comets are not just gas and flying through the sky. No, 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 no. They are divine messengers. It's actually written into ancient codes. And many of us can innately remember those codes, but it's actually written into texts. It's a primordial perspective. And if you've felt this message bubbling up from within you, this is what has been coming through in such a profound way. It's coming from the land realm, the very sacred land, from the sky realm and what's happening in the skies. It's bubbling from a galactic sense. It's literally happening in what has been coined as space. This feeling that keeps unfolding, the Celtic rose, unfolding, bursting, blooming. And the message got a whole lot bigger. And the deeper discoveries as far as weaving that tapestry is really what I see it as. It's like magically seeing the connection and threads that weave through things is profound that's happening for all of living creation here. Stick around until the end of this video because I'm going to talk about the mystery orbs that have been showing up that amplify the rest of what I'm going to talk to, because these were things that got added on to even after I thought, okay, I think that's all the messages I need to share. There was more. What this is about is seeing symbols, messages, because this is how the divine speaks, as many of us well know. I'm Natalie Viglione. If you haven't seen any of my videos, if you're a subscriber, thank you so much for coming back and watching. I thank you from the depths of my being for supporting me and being in that connective energy. What I do is vibrational medicine. I weave together several different arts to do so, connecting visions that I receive, dreams that I have, and to weave together bigger pictures. I'm openly sharing my personal story, which you can see in the link in the description of the channel, and also share resources so you can do your own research. There's nothing more powerful than having that ability to embody and integrate things that truly resonate with our divine spirits. I have two videos that I want to mention. The first one is that when you go to the videos, we have a message that I shared on April 25th, 2025. And this one was tapping into this solar alchemy that was happening in that given month. But there was something bigger that began to speak to me in April, which was the divine comet messenger that was coming through and weaving into our galaxy. And then I put out another video on May 6, 2025. This was about the reclamation of Christ consciousness and Pendragon as connected to King Arthur and Queen Guinevere's timeline, a very powerful connection for me. And you'll see that written into my personal story if you'd like to read more. So these two videos, I began to connect into this amazing comet that was bringing forth the message ultimately is far bigger that's going to be unfolding. This video is going to show you other bigger pieces and elements I think are imperative to know about. In these two videos, there were a few key themes that I can mention here to help assist this current video and give some kind of foundational framework. The first biggest message, that comet heralded revelations of the Christic unified field of consciousness that is about being anointed into this field of oneness, awakening this primordial template. And this is connected into the King Arthur and Queen Guinevere consciousness. The second big theme is that this universe of consciousness, waves of light and adamantine particles forming the basis of all matter. Adamantine particles are living liquid crystalline diamond structures, the most beautiful original organic template of Earth and of living creation. Of course, this includes humans. The third point from those two videos, in Arthurian tradition, Uther Pendragon was King Arthur's father, and it derives from an Old Welsh, which is Uther, Uthr. And it originally meant admirable or marvelous. And at some point, literally, his story rewrote what Uther means. It got changed to cruel or terrible. I share these resources openly so you can check those things out. This was the vile faction's way of hiding what Pendragon actually means. Chief dragon, meaning creation dragon. Creation dragons are solar dragons, and they're waking up and they are returning. This was the message that began in April for me, as I mentioned in these two videos. So if you want to stop this video and go watch these, they're foundational components, and you can connect these together. Those on this mission to pick back up the torch of unified consciousness, what that means, how that can happen within your own individual consciousness, and how we take this into our own perspective. The signs are here. That's the magic that I really want to tap in today. This is what many of us have been waiting for. First thing that I want to talk about is, what is Christ consciousness? In ancient texts, there are woven truths, whether you're looking at China or India, genuine Druid teachings. You can go into almost every culture and you're going to find that there are specific virtues that emanates from a Christed consciousness. Are 7 powerful things. One is love. Love comes through a purity without distortions. There's compassion and caring for all living things. That is what true love means in a pure form. Respect, built through reciprocal relationship of kindness and compassion. The third virtue is patience. When we have patience for ourselves, patience for each other. You know the saying, patience is a virtue. Literally, it is a virtue. The fourth one is honesty, speaking pure of heart. Honesty comes from a pure heart. Fifth virtue is courage. This comes through discipline. Discipline means dedication. It does not mean discipline as in cruelty because somebody doesn't obey you. That is the distorted sense of that word. The sixth virtue is diligence. And there's different words for these virtues, but these are the common themes. This comes through humility. And then the seventh one is wisdom, which is brought through truth. Truth equals wisdom. Wisdom equals truth. Can you imagine a world filled to the brim with these 7 virtues? It would change everything. That is exactly what can happen as these powerful things begin to unfold. And these things are happening for a very huge purpose, which I'm going to get to at the end of the video. Now let me share with you some more of what's really happening. How did this comet kickstart all of these amazing things? Let's go into that next. I am a sponsor of this website, Crop Circles and More, and I get access to deeper information. Crop Circles and I have been very close for many, many years. In fact, Crop Circles were what provided a map for me back in 2023 to go to Avebury Henge on a very specific day for a very specific reason. And I talk about that in quite a lot of videos on my Awakening Magic YouTube channel, blog, and Substack channel. Substack, I go deeper, as well as my blog, because those platforms do not censor like this one. As soon as this comet comes in, guess what starts weaving in? Crop circles. April 11th in Wimborne Minster. This is the first crop circle we're going to go through. This has many layers to it, but what we're going to focus in on is we have a perfect sphere and a perfect sphere in the middle. What does that dot in the middle mean? So here's where we really need to begin to bring through many other writings. We're going to tap into a book that weaved into my path, which is a book called A Dictionary of Symbols. And this has amazing information. We're going to go to page 178. Here's a profound teaching on this crop circle. So let's pull this up again. As you can see here, this dot means unity and origin. This is not just one meaning. This perspective has weaved into many, many, many cultures, including the ancient Celtic-Druid lineage that I am of. And we're going to get more into that as well. We can also tap into Bindu. So if you have not heard of Bindu, this is actually what the meaning of the dot is in India. It is a profound message, by the way. And I came across a book. This is how things weave together for me. We can't just talk about things and not show that there's some bigger picture here. I think we're moving into a time where we need to be sharing all of these kinds of resources. It's very important, very vital. So this is Shri Chakra. All of a sudden, this comes into my field. I click on an image and it just downloads. It was absolutely amazing. But what I want to take you through is where this Bindu connects and what it means, which is basically dot. Every triangle or lotus or circle or square, whatever, flows outward just as the supreme consciousness is the seed of all existence. See this dot in the middle? This is what we're really getting to here is this. This is origin. So this means origin, unity. This Bindu aspect gets even cooler. The next thing that I want to get to is this Bindu Visarga, a dense particle responsible for the creation of infinite consciousness. Okay, now we're tapping into this concept of Christ and anointing, this anointment. What does that mean? Well, technically speaking, from my lens, Bindu Visarga is what we're talking about. We're tapping into a point of creation as it's related to this point in the brain. Bindu is kept above all because it's transcendental and it's beyond even the limit of nature. And Bindu Visarga belongs to the highest plane of truth. So this means that awakening of the Bindu provides you with the ultimate truth of nature and the universe. So it is consciousness. It's literally consciousness. And I share all of my resources so you can actually go through this if you would like to. It is absolutely amazing. The location of the Bindu is located at the top of the back of the head. Now, this happens to be where the Hindu Brahmins where they left a spot of hair. That was a custom that's still actually practiced today. That tuft of hair means flame of fire. And leaving that tuft of hair was about exerting the force of the Bindu Visarga. That was known as igniting the flow of nectar, getting into anointment, the nectar. And this taps into many teachings that I'm sure you've found before. And this is a symbolic representation of Bindu Visarga. Let's identify this as unity and origin. We have to remember true meanings about circle of protection. Symbol of unity is the circle of completeness, of wholeness, and can help ward off negative energies. So this is known as creating this protective shield that surrounds and helps protect anything within its bounds. So this is what that circle of protection was always about. This has profound meaning. So there's a couple layers that I want to talk about in terms of crop circles. What are they? My husband and I were talking about that, and he said, you know what that reminds me of, because he comes from a musical angle. That really reminds me of cymatics. And I was like, that's it, exactly. But it's also thinking about sigils. So the inner realms, the planetary celestial being that we live within, is sending these messages. It's like pulling them down. These are vibrations, which is the way things were always communicated at one time, especially in original creation origin energies. Then there was a second crop circle that came through. So remember, as these videos are coming out in April and then May, this comet is coming in at the same exact time. The second one that came in, there's only been 3 this year and they came sequentially. April 11th and then the 15th of May, we got one that is extremely powerful. This is the ancient Celtic Druid genuine lineage speaking to us. And this has profound connections. This is exactly why Pendragon and the King Arthur and Queen Guinevere timeline was coming through very, very strongly because it's all connected. The true and genuine Celtic Druid lineage is speaking to us. And now let's look at what this symbology means. We're going to look at the square. The quaternary Celtic knot, for example, is connected into the 4 distinct elements: earth, fire, air, and water. We could also connect these into the cardinal directions of north, south, east, west. So this is connecting all of these aspects of 4, or the quaternary. This is what we have built into this symbol here. So it's a connection and bringing through of all the elements, of all the directions. So it's a calling in. So this is why this is also looking at this as a powerful protective, shielding energy and vibration that is sigiled within the earth. And this is to help combat some very vile things that are trying to weave their way in. And we'll go over that towards the end. And so one important aspect to this, we find it's actually 3 consecutive circles. And this is in the middle of the middle circle. So we have, again, this sphere within sphere. So we have within the unified field of consciousness, we're pulling in all directions, all the elements, and then we're going to bring in this concept of a Celtic shield. So this Celtic shield is in the British Museum. It's absolutely gorgeous. This shield is called the Battersea Shield. What we find, it was used by Celtic warriors serving as guardians. It was thought to bring magical protective properties to those who used the shield. Now, here's the amazing thing. When we do a close-up on this shield, this was highly intentional in its creation. And we're going to look at these spheres within spheres yet again, which are very much a part of this design. But the same exact 3 elements is 100% mapped into that crop circle. So again, 3 elements just like this. Magic literally woven into the fabric of this protective shield. But let's look at this symbology. So again, we've already talked about the square. Now we need to tap into the beauty of this symbol here. The Celtic Dara knot, as far as symbolism, was also heavily anchored into the Druid teachings and symbology as well. It's connected into Dor, which is an old Irish word that means oak tree. We can see here in this ancient image that it's this same exact image is woven into the fabric of this. We're looking at the roots of the oak tree, tapping into the Druidic lineages, the truth of the lineages as related to the oak. The oak was not only just a symbolism, the reason that Druids were very connected into the oak trees is because below the oak trees throughout the Emerald Isle, which is Ireland, but that region used to be far larger. It was not broken up the way it is shown today. And these oak trees beneath them had magnificent emerald cave structures that actually were part of the fabric of the original architecture of Earth, of this planetary being. They were very important, and that's why these trees were protected by this lineage. and why they were so sacred. Another layer to this is when we get into more of the symbology, we can also tap into what was known as the heraldic knot. It's symbolism for the spiral, the sign of infinity. This has beautiful meaning of bringing forth protection, bringing in all the directions, and the power of the oak tree, and the symbol of the spiral, symbol of infinity, and how it's bringing that all together within the dot, within the bindu, within origin, within unity. So this is all related to original creation, architecture, literally being woven back into this realm. Then there's a third crop circle, May 18th, just a few days later. Once again, we have this beautiful infinity symbol that's woven into this symbology as well. This is where it gets extremely fascinating because usually when there's the circles within circles, I want to share one of the symbols is the ecthys has become distorted in what it means. Now we see Jesus fish. That's not what this symbol means. There's such a bigger picture of this symbology. We're connecting back into Christ consciousness that happens and activates from within our own fields, but is also the true state of the organic and original way that was woven into the fabric of this realm. This ecthys symbology, this concept goes deep. So the ecthys in broad terms is about a heightening of one's consciousness. And this is ultimately where it came from, is lifting it from these original creation codes. And the fish was very sacred. It had a close symbolic relationship between the sea and the magna mater, mother energy. And that's why this fish symbology, this ecthys, was so sacred. It wasn't about worshiping, but it was a symbolic, beautiful, sacred relationship of what it really meant as related to original creation codes. A symbolic relationship bridging between heaven and earth. This kind of symbology can be found in Phoenician, Assyrian, Babylonian, Chinese. The same concept, again, these symbols weave their way into almost every culture and find these common themes. The cosmic fish symbolizes the whole entire universe, origin, everything in oneness. That's why the ecthys symbol became so profound. This is the third crop circle that popped up on the 18th of May. We have crop circles telling the same story that this comet was tapping into the ancient Celtic and Druidic lineage, connecting into the Pendragon energy, the King Arthur timeline, and so much more. Now we get into some of the other elements to this. What really caught my eye was the fact that there was a mystery orb that was seen. In March, around the same time that the Swan comet came in, what happened is in the town of Buga in Colombia, a metallic orb was found. Throughout all of what we call time, there's always been beautiful divine orbs that bring messages, share experiences and spiritual transformative visions. They're calling it an UFO spirit, but it's a metallic orb. And it was found on March 2nd, 2025. We have crop circles coming in, this comet. Now we have a metallic orb that's coming in. No one knows where it started. This is just where it basically landed. Eventually, what happened is this person who found it then turned it over to this other company because they were involved in finding metal things. They ended up turning it over into authorities. And then Dr. Jose Luis Velazquez, a radiologist, began to lead the analysis to figure out what is this metallic orb. So what they discovered is it had no welds or joints. It had very symbolic engravings. Here's the close-up of the sphere. So everything that we just went over directly indicates that we're talking about the same symbolic conversation. If we go back to unity and origin, we have Unity in origin held within a triangle. Unity in origin held within a triangle. Individual consciousness within this anointment, nectar. And now we're bringing in this other concept that I had shown you earlier, which is this symbology. So this symbology is directly connected into what we see here. We have origin in the middle. Bindu Visarga is integrated into this orb. And now when we look around here, what I'm going to show you as well is a book that I have called Agam Nua. So many years ago, I got connected to a beautiful couple in Ireland. And what Con Connor created was a Celtic path getting tapped into the language that was utilized by the Druids. These were notches in trees. There's Agam held within these symbols. There's ancient alphabets as well. There's runes, ancient lettering and symbology. Getting back into this Bindu Visarga, this symbolic representation says we can't experience the full state of Christ consciousness until it exists within the individuality. So that's what this Bindu Visarga also means, is individual consciousness. A lot of these activations are going to begin within those that haven't been feeling these kinds of activations. What I see this as is a kicking off of a much more profound experience. There's all kinds of analyses and items which you can explore here, as well as looking at the x-rays and things like that, and discern for yourself. But what I know is that this has a far bigger message. It's connected into the comet, connected into the crop circle. We are in a profound year of big change for a powerful reason. They put an image in to the computer went out and searched alphabets, ancient Arabic and Hebrew, and ancient Mesopotamian alphabets, etc. The analysis and the tentative translation, the markings came back and said, the origin of birth through union and energy in the cycle of transformation, meeting point of unity, expansion, and individual consciousness. Now we're getting somewhere. I would like to now share that in the way that it came through when I was feeling what is it really about. So I rephrased it into a framework that this is a message from the 144,000 archetypes that were built into our code and our DNA to re-imprint original creation templating for the good of all. This isn't just the orb, this is the crop circles, all of these symbologies that are coming together all at once. We return to the origin of creation's birth. This arises from the union of energy within this cycle of transformation, serving as a convergence point for unity, expansion, and consciousness, specifically through each individual's consciousness. Christ returning has been so prophetic, but it is not a man coming in. This is something that can be ignited and is going to be ignited in individual consciousness. And from that point, we return to original creation, the original intention fully seen once again. This concept of people or beings coming to save us isn't how this works. But we are being reminded the earth is protecting us. We are going to move into a time that is so powerful. And if we remember the magic and we see the magic that's weaving through, because it changes everything. We can feel it. And when we feel it, we can integrate it. And literally that comes through in our subatomic particles and what makes us feel alive. Can you believe it? I'm just going to put the icing on this already huge Christ consciousness cupcake. That cupcake sounds pretty delicious. Don't you agree? I'm going to share, I thought I was done, right? And no, I was not done. I don't even know how I stumbled across this. First of all, metallic flying orbs have been seen all around the world. It baffled NASA and Pentagon, obviously. But this was June 5th, 2023. There's 2023 coming again, a very powerful year. And these metallic orbs were seen in different places, Canada, Israel. So this wasn't an isolated incident. These metallic kind of orbs have been coming in at different times. There is talk that this is some kind of psyop because everyone thinks that things are psyops today. And then we have the other energy and fear because it's the government trying to do something to us. We have to get fully back into our own power centers. And this is where we discern from inner standing and feeling into this. Don't take my word for it. Feel into this. What does this feel like to you? If someone did this as some publicity stunt, good for them. It's beautiful. Just one more sign. But you can't fake crop circles and you can't fake comets and you can't fake. There's a bigger picture here. We're weaving and reading the tapestry of true magic that is awakening. This orb, 19th of May. So we had April 11th crop circle, May 15th crop circle, and then we had May 18th crop circle. And now we're finding these mysterious orbs, this perfect sphere spotted in what we call space. And it's baffling astronomers, obviously. They've called it teleos. It's in our Milky Way. There's no asymmetry, as they've stated. We're getting into something galactic that's happening that is a far bigger picture. All we need to do is come back into this unity, the origin. Wow. I think that was icing on the cupcake. When we really see the divine, primordial, origin, organic, beautiful energies coming alive, that we can actually see the magic, I feel like this changes everything. I mentioned that I wanted to add one more aspect to this. So, why is this timing so imperative? Why is that so vital to know more about? What I know without any doubt from my perspective and my lens of seeing to share with you is that we have some serious vile energies which are coming through this thing that is called AI. The dream labs in Canva, the fun little ways to make images, the Grammarly, for example. I'm not talking about that kind of AI. There's something happening behind the scenes that is far more malevolent. And that is trying to replace a human, that is trying to take away powerful essence of creativity that a human holds. Because what we can imagine is that there is a faction that does not want to see this lifting of the veil, doesn't want this freeing, this sovereignty to come back again, for the original and organic energies to come through. This requires that it ends the experiment in the way that it had transpired. And so to do this, it means that things have to shift in such a powerful way. Things have to be destroyed before they're created, or as they're being created, new things have to come in and old falls away. And so we are in a time, a very pivotal moment for humanity, because this has happened in a timeline or a time cycle when Atlantis became so imbalanced, out of harmony, hierarchies, those that were better than others. This essence started getting further and further and further and further away from the true and organic original intention of creation. And the imbalance really began, and then everything broke. There needs to be some powerful energies coming in to disempower that from happening. So, what I am seeing is that this is absolutely connected to empower us once and for all. If you have your own perspectives or have seen other beautiful magic, please comment below. To me, this is so exciting, and I hope that this connects more of the beautiful awakening magic. Please subscribe to continue on this wonderful quest and to celebrate your divine spirit.